So please start.
Yes, my question is about the landslide. You didn't think that the water harvestation or it increases the landslide possibility in the area?
That rainwater harvesting increases landslides? No, I don't think so. I think landslide is mainly often related to, for example, the removal of a robust vegetative cover from slopes, cutting of trees, cutting of shrubs, and actually rainwater harvesting, as I tried to explain, one of the idea is to support the restoration of a robust vegetative cover. And that, in most cases, I think will actually help to stabilize also slope areas and to enhance the productivity at the same time.
Yes, because when we are harvesting the water, the rainwater, the infiltration rate will be more and more in the loose area. When we using this method, it will be increases the mass movement or not.
As I said, from my perspective and from my experience, the many problems which are occurring in Central Asia with landslides are very much related to forest degradation, overgrazing on steep slopes, and we need to restore a robust vegetative cover. And in the semi-arid context, often if we want to have more trees growing on these degraded hills, we need to think about watering for at least a period of 3 to 5 years before the trees have a root system deep enough to make them independent. And for this, we need water. And of course, we could try to bring water through sophisticated and expensive other techniques to the hill. But one of the most convenient technique actually is to harvest the water in a certain area in smaller amounts so that we can do the watering in the area with less efforts. And once we have a vegetation re-established in the area, which is conformed of including deep-rooting species, in the normal context, we will have automatically also more stability on the hill slopes. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, may I have a question, Professor?
Yes, please.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Mushfiq from Afghanistan. I don't have any question, but just I need your suggestion and recommendation. I have already shared with you in this Skype group one PDF file, which is a draft of a demonstration project related to this issue, prevent from degradation in western part of Afghanistan in Herat province. So in these days, I made this concept of this draft of demo project to convince some national and international organization to implement this project. So now my request from you is that please share your comments, your suggestion and recommendation to develop this draft if it be possible. Thank you all.
Okay, I will have a look at the document. Yeah.
Moshfek used every possibility to make step forward.
Okay, thank you.
So we have one more question from Pamir. In chat, in comparison to municipal water quality and well water quality, where does rainwater harvesting stand? So what you can say about quality of the rain harvesting water?
You know, I want to make my answer short on this aspect. When I promote rainwater harvesting, it is always related to the topic of irrigation and also additional domestic water supply. But I don't officially deal with drinking water. Yeah. I know that a lot of people who are engaging in rainwater harvesting, for example, in Tajikistan, they also use part of the harvested rainwater for drinking water purposes, simply because the alternatives are even worse. Yeah. But it's clear that the moment we talk about rainwater harvesting for drinking water, officially, there are a lot of standards that needs to be fulfilled, which require some treatment. But I don't have a special expertise on that, and I also don't focus on that. These are other kind of people who focus on supporting drinking water supply through rainwater harvesting. Yeah. But in general, of course, what we can say is the harvested rain for water cannot have a superior quality compared to the rainwater that is falling from the sky. So if we have, for example, a lot of air pollution, I can imagine that also the rainwater will have some pollutants inside. If we harvest if we store the rainwater, for example, in open ponds, there can be additional problems of contamination coming in. And I mentioned also already, if we have open ponds, there can be a problem of disease proliferation, because mosquitoes could use these ponds as a breeding ground. So I personally, I'm more a friend of closed structures. They have different benefits, but yeah, I do not engage officially in promoting rainwater harvesting for drinking water purposes, but mainly for irrigation and domestic water. Yeah, so this kind of question, how we can bring rainwater to a quality level that it can be utilized also officially as drinking water, it's better to ask other people who know more about this topic.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I absolutely agree. Arzu, you have very long question in our file. Can you please say it by orally? Arzu?
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Please.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I have a question regarding to Tajikistan, as I'm from there. You said that in average, actually, the amount of precipitation is about 500 millimeters, but most of the precipitations actually they fall in the winter period. So my question is how to collect the precipitation in the winter periods.
You know, we have the precipitation-rich period in southern Tajikistan between autumn to spring. So part of this precipitation is falling as rainwater. If you use your house roof, for example, it's that you that you attach to your house roof a gutter, and this gutter should lead the harvested water, the runoff water from the roof, to the storage structure. And then you can store the water for several months and start using the water for irrigation, for example, when your land is already needing the watering support, yeah, during the summer. Is that was that a good answer to your question, or did I not fully understand the question? Sorry.
Yeah, you partially answered the question, but I mean, if, for example, in the winter, I mean, precipitation such as snow and hail, they fall down, is it possible somehow to collect it or no?
Well, not as snow. Well, actually, I saw from Afghanistan once, I saw that people are even engaging in snow harvesting during the winter, but that is, I think, quite labor intensive. No, my suggestion is to say, okay, use all the available rainwater between autumn to spring, and with regard to snow, allow the snow to melt, and then it will take the same way through the gutters into the storage compartments. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's always the point is you try to harvest as much as possible during the precipitation-rich period, and you store it so that it is available for the long dry season. Okay.
I have also a question. I am Hijratullah from Afghanistan.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, sir, for your beautiful presentation. It was so interesting and good and helpful for me. I want to have your view, and my question is about how to control rainwater in a local area, as all of us know that we can make some check dams, some reservoir, big and small. But we know that the economy of Afghanistan and the poor governance of Afghanistan is not able to do so. But what should the local community do to collect the rainwater in a heavy raining season, especially in summer uh, season? In the south part of Afghanistan, there is a heavy raining. So, what's your opinion and instruction to collect this water in this heavy raining season?
Okay, let's take the scenario that we have maybe a community located at the foot of a hill. Yeah, let's take this as an example.
Yes.
And, let's take this as an example. I don't know the exact conditions in the area where you are working or from where you are, but I take this as an example because it's happening quite often. We have a hilly or mountainous area. Normally the villages are in the lower areas, and on top of them there are the mountains, and often they have problem with flooding, with flash flood sometimes during the raining season, and in the summer they start facing water scarcity. Yeah, and I hope that from this presentation you have clearly understood that these things are interrelated. Yeah, all the water which is allowed to run off from an area, whether it will cause damages, big damages or not, but it's water that goes to the next stream, and it will never come back directly to the area. Only the water which we manage to infiltrate into the soil or to additionally store in some temporary storage facilities, this is the water which is going to produce some benefit during the next vegetative period. That is very important to understand. And I'm aware that in many parts of Central Asia nowadays, the starting point for many communities is that they live in a highly degraded area, and they have to start thinking about the best approach to restore the land, to make themselves less, to live in a less risk-prone environment, to have better productivity. So how we do that? Yeah, actually, in the intensive trainings which I normally give, they last 2 to 3 days. This is another important topic. How do we plan for such activities? I cannot go into all details here, but I want to give you one example, one principle which has to be taken into consideration. That is the approach ridge to bottom. It means if I have a problem in a degraded area with water flow, it's always very useful to start thinking about restoring the land in the upper part and then going stepwise further down. Why is it so? Because if I live in a degraded area and there's a heavy rain, for example, affecting the land, and the land is degraded in the upper area, already a lot of water starts to flow down on the soil surface. And then in the lower areas, the more water accumulates from the higher areas and runs down, it is very difficult to control, to bring it back to infiltration into storage. You know that. So we have to address the problem where it occurs. We have to start increasing infiltration, increasing water storage in the higher parts so that we will have less runoff from there. And then we have to work our way down so that step by step we are controlling better the water flow, even in the event of heavy rains. Did I express myself clearly, or was it not clear for you?
I think it is more.
Yes, it was more clear. But the main part of my question was that what should the local community do to prevent this flood, and how to control this water by law tools or material that they have on their hand. So what should they do in the upper area?
Okay, I give you one example. What should they do? For example, let's take again the same example. A community located at the foot of a degraded hill. Okay, they should do all the things necessary to increase water infiltration. So they have to revise all the activities that they are doing for now. They should revise, are they actually helping to increase water infiltration, or are they actually often contributing to the opposite thing? Yeah, if I have a problem with water infiltration, for example, in many areas people allow the domestic animals to run around freely, or to go up to the mountains, and often the effect is quite negative on water infiltration. Yeah, do you understand that? Yeah, it's because domestic animals sometimes they degrade the vegetation, and the second point is that they lead to soil surface compaction. So when the next heavy rain comes, there's less capacity for the soil to allow for high infiltration. So we really have to see that when we have a degraded area, that we look at what kind of land uses are we giving to different parts of this degraded land for now? How is it contributing to soil and water conservation or to soil and water resource degradation? And then we have to develop a vision which kind of activities can help us in the future to come back to a balance, that we have better soil and water conservation, better vegetative development. And once we have it clearer, what kind of land uses can be beneficial and which kind of land uses can be leading to ongoing destruction, then we have to find our way, starting to work from ridge to bottom to engage in land restoration. Yeah, I would really love now to be in a situation with you to go to one of the very degraded pieces of lands which are maybe that might exist in your area, and then we could work directly in the field on these issues. Yeah, that we analyze together how are the resources utilized so far, what is the impact of our current land use, and how can we start to heal the situation. Yeah, this is actually part of the seminars which I normally give. It's mostly, it's about 50% classroom, and then 50% we go to the degraded areas, and we practically discuss these issues in the field, and we practically work so that people really learn how to tackle these issues. It's a big problem that a lot of people engaged in development cooperation, they talk a lot, but when it comes to a real question, how can we address these issues, and the community is asking, what can we do? Often it's quite confused. Yeah, we need more systematic understanding how to address these problems. I don't know whether this short webinar will be sufficient, but I hope it can at least raise some interest. And I'm always in general willing, once this coronavirus will be over, to assist in practical activities or in additional capacity development activities in different Central Asian countries. Yeah.
Thank you for this answer. Irina, please answer your question, and then Melis.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you tell more about restoration of degraded pasture lands and their water supply using rainwater harvesting? For example, on the slide 6 of your presentation, which demonstrates a result of some project, it is unclear what kind of tools, facilities you use for rainwater harvesting.
Mm-hmm.
And can we find any available reports online? Because it's interesting what were the investments for this project, and what was the specific grazing area?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. It's for example not clearly visible on the photo what kind of rainwater collection structures we utilized here. I can tell you from memory that we utilize very simple structures using the surface water runoff. You see the center photo here. During the raining season, a lot of water tended to run off here in the lowest parts from the upper part, building already some gullies here. So we were actually using some simple measures to assure better infiltration, but also we were using some storage facilities so that we had some water in place to do initial irrigation for the tree seedlings during the first few years. I said this is essential in semi-arid context. Often the tree seedlings, they need some initial support in degraded areas to grow, to establish a strong root system. So yeah, it's not visible here. Our investment requirement was actually quite low. It was, I have to see whether I can find in old project reports some information which I could distribute. What was the additional question? What can you say was an additional question?
Where can we find some reports?
Reports. Yeah, actually, it's a bit difficult in the way that we were working here with donor money, and we had to present our reports to the donor, so I cannot easily hand it over, distribute these reports to others. But actually, when you look on our website, I have compiled a number of documents. Some are fully available there. Some you see at least the content of the publications. And if you have further interest, we can see whether you could get a copy. Yeah, some of these things which I have published, you find on my website under publication www.downtoearthconsult.com/publications. And yeah, maybe this is already something. What is important for me is that you understand if we have degraded pastures, that, as I said, in some areas that used to be meadowlands, natural meadowlands, also a long time ago, it can be useful approach to say, okay, let's try to restore these as functional meadowlands. But in many parts of Central Asia, actually, where we had a different kind of vegetative structure a long time back, we have to integrate more trees, shrubs, or saksaul into the land use systems again in order to make them really, truly sustainable. A lot of activities in Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan are underway to do kind of improved pasture management measures. And I must say it's a waste of money in many areas, yeah, because the sites are not generally suitable for pasture management in many areas.
Thank you.
Okay,
And from my experience, as far as I know, many nomadic people, so-called farmers, cattle breeders on remote areas experience some lack of drinking water supply, and rainwater harvesting may be a good solution for them. But is rainwater harvesting affordable for ordinary farmers without attraction of additional donor money?
Okay, first of all, I want to say once again, I don't officially engage in promoting rainwater harvesting for drinking water. Yeah, officially, I don't engage in that. So I can talk with you about possibilities to increase water availability for animals, for example, or for irrigation. Please look at the slides please look at the photos on slides number 6 again. Yeah, you were mentioning this slide. If you see this lands, the soils are very degraded, very hard. The soil surface especially is very much compacted. Now imagine a heavy rain coming. What do you expect? What do you expect? Will there be a lot of water infiltration?
Excessive runoff?
Exactly. This is what these people experience. Yeah, often they will say, oh, it's another natural disaster. And I always told them, no, it's not natural disaster, it's human-made disaster. Yeah, because you decided here to give a management to the land, which has led to soil compaction, a lot of soil erosion, so that at the end you are living now on this degraded land. And if we want, and this, for example, in these areas was not only leading to decreasing pasture quality, it was also leading a lot to drying of water sources, which the people were formerly using. So a lot of things are coming out when you use the land in a degradative way. You lose land productivity, you have more problem with flash floods, and during the summer period, you have sometimes problem with more water scarcity because the groundwater resources, they also depend on water infiltration. If you used to have under the natural vegetation a lot of water infiltration, now you change to a system where you have very little infiltration and a lot of water runoff. You will have in the summer more problems with water scarcity, also in terms of groundwater and drinking water supply. Yeah. So, and if we want to work with the people on improving here, as I said, it's not enough just to think about improved pasture rotation or some new pasture plants. Yeah. You have to see that these things have to be tackled in a really thorough way. We have to understand what kind of plants are really suitable here. And then, for example, in some communities, we were supporting in South Tajikistan the people in drinking, in setting up water supply systems for their communities. And in some cases, the people suggested me, I was a project manager, to set up some technical structures in highly degraded areas for drinking water supply. And I told them, no, I will not finance it as long as we will see this generally degraded landscape here. Yeah, if you want to have really good water supply for now and for the future, we need to discuss seriously about the general land management approach.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. Melis and Davlet will be the next. Melis, please.
Hello.
Good
My
morning.
name is Melis.
Yes.
My question is how to implement the use of rainwater to make it mainstream. I mean, it's how make it popular, because, for example, in Turkmenistan, nearly 90% of people don't know that we can use rain. But I'm sure that 90% of people know, think, and, for example, dream when they sleep that why people don't use rainwater. My question is how to implement it to be popular.
Yeah, to make it more popular. Okay, so I don't know Turkmenistan from own experience, but I imagine that there are also already in Turkmenistan some people who do rainwater harvesting. Am I right or not?
Yeah, you are right. I read about this nearly 1 year ago, that UNDP fund helped to make a new structure, new technical building that collect rainwater.
Okay, so it was coming from external support, UNDP. Okay, you know, when I hear UNDP, I know often remember my own experience in Central Asia, and I know that often they use 2 or 3 times the budget normal to do a thing in comparison to others. So they have often a very expensive approach. And coming back also to the question of the previous lady who was asking about the price for rainwater harvesting option, I just want to say again, rainwater harvesting structures can be established at different price level. Some simple options can be less expensive, and then there can be some more durable structures. They can be more expensive. The things have to be seen in the local context. But coming back to your specific question, how can we promote this idea, for example, in Turkmenistan, where this is not a common topic now? My approach is always when I come to a new area, I ask around, are there some local farmers who have maybe out of their own initiative without any project support already started some rainwater harvesting activities in the past? And actually, I have been to many countries in my life, and very often I hear sooner or later, yes, actually, you know, there's one strange farmer who lives in a certain area. He started to do something, and then these are the cases which sometimes provide good starting point, because when we have already somebody who has started something by him or herself, and we see it's working, then my idea is that we don't start with those people who are in zero, but that we take the people who have done already some steps by themselves, that we try to further strengthen their approach of, for example, efficient water utilization, and that we then also use this kind of local innovators for further promotion. Yeah. So, for example, in South Tajikistan, there's a farmer who, without any project support, he set up on his own farm water harvesting structure in the range of 80 cubic meter. Yeah, that is he's a champion for me. I don't know anybody else in Central Asia who on his own land has 80 cubic meter water storage. He did this by himself, just out of own initiative, and he's doing well with that. So that is for me one thing. Start to actively identify innovators in your own country which maybe are already engaged. And I'm not talking about this UNDP approach, as I said, yeah, because UNDP solutions are often too expensive. And then the second thing is, yeah, when you have good experiences already in some parts of the country, some farmers who are doing well, Let me try to promote this to the neighbors, to some other innovative people, other innovative land users in the region or even countrywide. That we do try to do some public relation work. For example, when I was in Central Asia, we produced some training films which are accessible via YouTube. But yeah, to really have a big distribution of these kind of techniques, I think sooner or later we also need to involve the political level, yeah? And I think this is, at the moment, from my perspective, I see the problem in I don't know any Central Asian country or government at the moment which gives a high priority to this topic of improving rainfed management through, for example, improved rainwater harvesting management. Or maybe I'm wrong. I'm following the news from Central Asia, but I'm not aware of any Central Asian country where at the moment I see that the governments are paying this, that they see this as a high priority. Yeah? But yeah, again, these things can change. Young professionals are coming. Maybe some of you will in the future start to work in the public administration, and you will have the chance to influence. I'm optimistic. I'm, for example, in Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan, I managed to convince a few hundred families to engage in water harvesting. They are happy. Some other families are joining now independently. But for example, my dream is still that one day I will find a donor organization who will tell me, Frank, please help us in setting up a rainwater harvesting promotion project in the range of several thousand, involving several thousand families, yeah? I have also talked to donor organizations several times. In general, they seem to be interested, but between talking and action, sometimes it's a longer time that passes for some people. So on the one hand, we need to be patient, but on the other hand, we need to have also when we are convinced that this is important, we should continue to work on it. Even if we see still there are a lot of barriers, but there's always a possibility to bring the topic forward. For example, now I'm talking to you, and maybe if out of you only 20% are deciding really this is an important topic, then I'm already happy. Yeah, then I'm happy because I know the seed is sown for further actions in the region. And again, I said already, if in the future you see in one of your countries, it would be desirable that I come for 2-3 days, I'm more than willing to support.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please, Davlet.
Hello, my name is Davlet. I'm from Turkmenistan.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for a good presentation. I write not question, it's just information about Turkmenistan, how using in desert rainwater and how collect and with helping Sardoba equipment. What do you think about Sardoba? If you know.
No, sorry, I don't understand this word. What was Sardoba?
Sardoba, yes.
I have never heard about this. Is this? Can you explain what it is?
Yeah, please explain.
I think it's a kind of water reservoir under the name of Sardoba.
Yes, it's the name is Sardoba. It's a collection of rainwater, like колодец, как будет собирается? Колодец, да?
Like water well.
Yes, like water well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Davlet, can you please find in internet some kind of picture with Sardoba and please add this picture to the chat. We will see how it looks. Okay.
Okay. I saw this equipment and in the water very cold and very fresh. In the much time we can collect and save this water.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, as I said, under this name, I've I don't understand. I've never heard this name, but it brings me back to my comment to the other question. What can we do to promote this concept? It means already in Turkmenistan you are engaging in rainwater harvesting, and so the question is, how can we multiply and maybe diversify the different kinds of rainwater harvesting options? But certainly you're also in Turkmenistan, you are not starting with zero. Yeah. So that means it's in many semi-arid areas, people have engaged in rainwater harvesting since long time back. during the Soviet period, maybe this topic lost a little bit importance, because during Soviet periods, a lot of infrastructure projects were brought forward to bring water through pipes to even to remote areas. But yeah, nowadays I think rainwater harvesting in many areas is more and more important again. Yeah. And
Okay.
for example, I was in December, January. I had the chance to go to Iran. I recently returned with my family from Armenia, and our neighboring country was Iran, and we went to the desert, and I was so impressed to see that hundreds of years ago already there were settlements in the middle of desert with very low rainfall, and actually the people, their main water supply system was organized also through rainwater harvesting. Yeah, so the concept of rainwater harvesting is nothing new. It has been a bit forgotten in many parts of the world, but there are lots of potentials to do more on this topic, for example, in Central Asia now. Yeah, and it needs young, committed people like you, hopefully, who can in the future participate in the right discussions and also especially bring more practical experiences onto the ground. That is also important, that we not just talk. I always said to my colleagues, I don't like just talking. I want to see the things on the ground. If we don't manage to do the things on the ground to support people bringing things to the ground, then we have somehow missed then we have not achieved our target. Yeah, it's not just about writing reports and having nice discussions in the city. We really need to bring things down to the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we recognize what sourdough means. It's really like a engineering construction, but it is not possible to do such constructions by your own. It must be whole community involved to the project.
Okay.
So Frank, if you will see the chat, you can see explanation what sourdough means.
It's here. Okay.
It's really nice technique. We have to really discuss about all techniques, ancient techniques.
Absolutely. And you will see already in your home country, in the different Central Asian areas, there are so many fascinating technology which used to be applied. As I said, also for Afghanistan, I saw people in some parts till nowadays engaging in snow harvesting. Yeah, I see the photo now. Yeah. Okay, here from Turkmenistan.
Yeah. So
actually, these techniques, the basic principles are always the same. Yeah, you need a catchment area. In this case, it's a prepared ground catchment, and then you need a storage facility. And for the ancient people, the main approach was always to look at the local resources, what they had available as for construction material, and then they did it. Yeah, and yeah, it looks nice. And if this is still in place, it's good to analyze. Is a chance for multiplication of this technique, or what do the people perceive as a weakness, and to work according to this on ways maybe to improve. Yeah, it's also possible.
Yes, it's a good experience, and in some way it's working nowadays.
Yeah. I was very happy to hear from my colleague about this university in Kazakhstan that you're engaging in fostering research and lecture on integrated water resource management. I think this is very, very, very important, and I'm really happy about your initiative. I congratulate you, and I think there are a lot of fields of interest that could be studied further, the ancient technologies in different parts of Central Asia, but also especially nowadays, feasible, cost-efficient techniques to bring land restoration forward with the right approaches in integrating rainwater harvesting as one key element among other key elements. Please always understand that if we want to improve the situation, it's not depending only on rainwater harvesting. It always needs a bit more integrated perspective, that we also see that we don't waste the water which we have collected, and that we use the right vegetative structures for certain areas. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Frank. And I think the last question for today from Pamir. It's really nice. can you please say several words about the best practices in conditions of the Central Asia?
You mean with regard to rainwater harvesting?
Yes. According to your experience, what will be the easiest, or I don't know, what will be the best ways for the water harvesting in the Central Asia?
Well, as I said, for me, there are different dimensions. If I talk about the family, then I first look at the possibilities, for example, to utilize the rainwater which falls on the house roof or on other pieces of land that belongs to the family. I look at options to improve the management of this kind of water in a more efficient way. But actually, many problems which we have in Central Asia related to bad water management, they need to be seen at a wider scale. Yeah, we have problems, communities affected by flash floods and so on, things like that, and drought during the summer. Here we need actually a wider approach, which is also called the integrated watershed management approach, where, as I tried to indicate already earlier, we look at a certain area, a catchment area. We look at which kind of activities are taking place in different parts of the land in this catchment. How are they contributing either to good resource management or to bad resource management? And that based on that, we are developing a plan how to improve the management, integrating rainwater harvesting, integrating tree planting, integrating setting up of agroforestry plots, things like that. This kind of land use planning at a wider catchment level is very important so that we can really address land degradation also at a larger scale and not only at a family scale. That is, family scale is important, but it's often not enough because even the families who do well, they are often affected by bad land management that is taking place in the surrounding area. So if we have the chance in the future to work more on integrated, improved nature resource management at catchment level, it would be great. Unfortunately, for now, the experience on the ground in this area in Central Asia are not very much, not so well developed as they could be and as they should be there, unfortunately. But let's try to work on this topic as well.
So thank you very much, Frank. It was really nice lecture and long discussion, I think. Students, thank you very much also. And greetings from the German Kazakh University. Hope we will continue our contacts and it will be not a last meeting. So I hope it will be on just a first meeting. Okay, yeah. Okay. Thank you from my side also for constructive discussion. And yeah, if some of you manage to engage in promoting rainwater harvesting and more sustainable land management in the future, I hope you will have a lot of success. And even if sometimes development are a bit slow, that you always feel animated, that it's worth to continue the efforts. Yeah, I mean, I'm working on this topic since many years. Sometimes it's going a bit too slow for me, but I always feel it's worth to continue the efforts so that we can promote these things more and more. Thank you very much for interesting discussion. And from my side, I'm always open to support future activities of the university or from people, from some of your students in their respective home countries.